What is up, guys? Fadeaway82 coming at you with a new series called Rust Tactics, in which we take a look at player interactions on the US Rustopia server. This isn't enough footage to put into a full raid cam, but what this series is going to focus on is taking a look at skirmishes amongst players, talking about group tactics, group dynamics, anything that we can take a look at and learn from. This was interesting footage, so I wanted to go ahead and put it together for you guys, and what you're taking a look at specifically right now is an ominous tower that's being built up here by the DMG crew. That's Dirt McGirt and his guys. They're building a tower that looms high over the compound of the NS group here, and as you can see, NS is having a bit of a difficult time managing against that tower. Anytime, guys, in military tactics, if you have the high ground, you're going to have the advantage, and that's the case here with Dirt McGirt and his crew. They're building this tower up, and it's giving them a high vantage point to be able to look down into that compound, to rain fire back down into that compound, and to be able to tell what's going on at any given point in time. So that tower can serve two purposes. It can be an offensive position, and it can also be a position to gather intel. Right now, Dirt McGirt and his crew are using it offensively, and they said that they weren't necessarily preparing for a raid here, but they were building this up as a tactic to use and to see how well it worked. As you can see, bodies are piling up in that compound down there, and the NS members are a bit sort of locked into their own compound at this point in time. DMG and his crew are putting up some signs here, which have two purposes. The signs give them some cover from the fire that's coming back up towards that tower, and the signs also allow them to put their own personal touch on there. As you can see, Pharaoh's constructing a sign here and putting some of his own flair on that sign. The signs are a bit of a mindfuck, guys. They can sort of get in the head of other players. I'm not sure if that's necessarily having the effect on the NS crew, but NS has some cool signs going on down there as well. It's always cool to see players sort of add their own personal touch to it. You can see these signs are going up. There's a few up there right now, and that's something that's kind of cool to see and sort of adds sort of a bit of a lore to the server, if you will. As you can see down here in the NS compound, they're prepared for the raid. They have their beds lined up, which are going to be the spawn points. The furnaces are running for supplies, and they are gearing up. They're kitting up here, they're getting their weapons, and they are prepared for a raid. They anticipate that it's going to be a raid, and they are preparing accordingly, which is something you always want to go ahead and do. As you can see here, the members are sticking inside the base because that's what they need to do at this point in time. That tower is a bit difficult to be able to escape from. However, it is turning to night, so they have that to their advantage at this point. It's hard to see at night, and even though DMG and his guys have a good vantage point from that tower, they don't have night vision and they can't necessarily see what's going on down below. And as day turns to night, suppressing fire is still being sent back down towards the NS clan's compound, while they're able to sort of move out a little more freely because the cover of night provides them with a lot more freedom than the day. Dirt McGirt and a guy have moved down here with his pickaxes and attempting to get through one of those high stone exterior walls. You're going to need quite a few pickaxes to get through that, but they're using the cover night to their advantage, while the members up in the tower keep sending that suppressing fire back down towards NS. You'll notice, guys, here the muzzle flashes help to light up the night and see what's going on, and Dirt McGirt continues to chip away at that high stone exterior wall. You're going to notice here we flash forward a little bit through the night, and you're noticing a light there in the distance. That's actually the attack helicopter or the attack chopper that's moved into position. It looks like it's more focused on a base that's over the next ridge, and it's not really concerning itself much with these members at this point in time. Now, Dirt McGirt and his crew are still sending fire back down towards the compound, but you'll notice here that NS and the crew are also firing, but they're not shooting back up towards the tower. What they're doing at this point in time is they're sending some fire back towards the attack helicopter in an attempt to try to lure that attack chopper towards the compound. Now, this is a bit of a risky move because this can work in their favor or it can work against them. You'll notice here that they are trying to aggro the helicopter, and they're successfully able to do that. They're hitting the helicopter, and the helicopter's getting pissed. This helicopter's coming in hot, and NS is hoping that the helicopter will help them against Dirt McGirt's tower. However, it might hurt their base. The tower's coming in, and it is absolutely pissed. It's spraying some rockets on the tower, so it is doing what they intended for it to do, but it's also bukkaking the main compound with some napalm, so it is both helping and hurting NS at this point in time. So talking about tactics, guys, this is a really interesting tactic to use. We've always wondered about using helicopters, cutting them in, and seeing if you can allow them to help you out in a raid or something along those lines. So in this case, it's a very risky move because you're bringing the helicopter to your own compound, but you're using it in a way that you're hoping that it'll mitigate against people who are giving you some grief. And as you can see here, it looks like more damage to NS compound than to the tower itself. There's fires burning on the roof, which allow NS to not have that defensive position, and it's also shot some rockets down into their main compound as well. The helicopter is an absolute beast, guys. It's the first credible PvE threat in the new version of Rust if you're not familiar with it, and it's a bit of a boss battle. When this thing rolls in, it's something to not take for granted, to not take lightly, and as you can see, it just took out Dirt McGirt and the other guy with the pickaxes down there, so it even was concerned with them, and it probably did some damage to that high stone exterior wall, so it may have actually helped them in some respects in terms of Dirt McGirt and his crew who were trying to get through that wall. The helicopter's up here, and again, it's not playing favorites. It's spreading fire with its machine guns left and right. It's shooting NS and DMG. It doesn't really care if you have a gun, if you're armored, and if you've hit that helicopter, it knows who you are, and it's going to have you in its sights. What you're going to notice here, guys, is that DMG and his crew actually logged off. They actually went to sleep because the helicopter is a really massive threat to have to worry about, and they figured by logging off, they could wait it out. Here you're seeing the body of Dirt McGirt and the other guy with the pickaxes there, and that's something that is, when they wake up, they're probably going to be able to find that the rockets damaged some of that high stone exterior wall, so if they can get back to that position, it might actually give them less of a difficult time to get through that wall. Looking at some more footage of the helicopter here, you can see that some DMG members woke back up and the helicopter remembered who they are. The helicopter doesn't forget. The AI on it's really solid, and it is coming back for more. It is engaging with people outside of this even skirmish that we're looking at, so you can see that anyone who's in this area is going to be subject to that helicopter. But it is coming back around, and it is taking a closer look here at that tower. It's sending some rockets back into the DMG's tower and is blowing it apart. You can see parts of the tower just falling apart there. That's stone and wood that it's blowing through, and it's done a bit of damage here. You can see the walls that didn't fall are heavily damaged, as you can notice by the blackened color there. And it's also sending machine gun fire back in through those openings, killing sleepers, destroying loot, sleeping bags, all sorts of stuff inside that compound. It also just put a hole in the side of NS's base down here as well. So the helicopter again is both helping and hurting. This is really interesting to see, guys, because we've always wondered what would happen if a helicopter shows up in the middle of a raid, and this is really an interesting case study here. NS has moved closer to the tower in an attempt to try to kite that helicopter back over towards DMG's tower, and they've taken out some members from DMG's crew who were down there and who weren't as well geared, hoping the helicopter wouldn't aggro on them. As they're shooting at the helicopter from that position, they are able to pull the helicopter back over towards the tower, but it's not having as much of an effect on the tower in that it's not choosing to use its napalm or rockets. It's sending some machine gun fire back in there, shredding through the NS members, but it's not going to be doing too much damage to the tower. At this point in time, the helicopter's actually headed out, and it's gone. If the helicopter's not taken down within a certain time range, it actually will roll back out. So at this point in time, DMG and his crew are working on repairing their base, and the same thing's going on down at the NS crew's compound as well. They're patching up the holes in their base. With the helicopter rolling in and DMG's members going to sleep, NS was able to gain a bit of a foothold here in that they were able to gear up and take the fight a little bit closer to that tower, and to also move into positions that Dirt McGirt and his crew weren't able to spot because they had logged off. So you'll notice some NS members are now down here in the compound. They've moved out to different locations, which are a bit harder to spot. So they're behind quarries or behind pump jacks and other buildings here. Well, DMG and his members continue to chip away at that high exterior stone wall, which again probably was damaged somewhat from those rockets from the helicopter. Take note here, guys, as we pan out above these players here who are chipping away at that wall, that there's actually two walls here, so it's double layered. We talk a lot about this in Rust cribs when we take a look at Rustopia cribs, and if you can, guys, if you have the resources, always double layer your walls. You'll notice some other members are moving in here in anticipation of that wall falling, but when it falls here, they can't get into the main compound. They are able to squeeze through it though and get into one of the secondary areas here, which is one of the workstations. And we talk about this as well in Rustopia cribs, in which we talk about making your workstations where you have your quarries, your pump jacks, their own separate spaces, so walling them off differently. And as we take a look at the bird's eye perspective here, you can see they look like ants on the ground, and really all that they're able to get to here is a quarry, a pump jack, and so they're going to get some loot, but it's not going to be sort of the lion's share of anything. And the tower is still running strong at this point in time, and this is something that is not going to be able to be taken down easily. So at this point, guys, we're winding down with this footage here. Again, this is a new series called Rust Tactics, in which we take a look at footage from Rustopia, skirmishes, between players, groups, and we're going to talk about tactics, group dynamics, anything that makes sense in this context of this type of a series. Let me know, guys, if you like this, if you don't like it, and we'll continue to do more if you do. If you want to get in on the action, feel free to come on over to Rustopia. As always, guys, Fado82, peace.